Welcome to the new season of the Global Leadership Podcast, where we go behind the scenes and unpack the stories behind some of today's most effective and dynamic leaders. I'm Lori Hermann, the executive producer of the Global Leadership Summit and one of your hosts. This season, my colleague Jason Jaggard and I and a few other guest interviewers will be exploring the stories of some of your favorite summit speakers, finding out how they made it where they are, and learning about the person behind the leader. I cannot wait to go on this journey with you. And one of our first guests this season is Johnny C. Taylor Jr., the president and CEO of SHRM, which is the Society of Human Resource Management, and it is the largest HR organization in the world. We sat down in front of a studio audience and discussed pivotal moments in his leadership and what he believes will be the next greatest challenge leaders will face. And I'll give you a clue. It is not the Great Resignation. It was a really wonderful conversation, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. But first, I want to tell you about a special event coming up, and it is the Global Leadership Summit Special Edition. It is a half-day online event on February 16th, 2023. I am super excited. I can't wait to be there with my team. I hope you join us for this leadership boost. You can get $20 off when you get your tickets by Tuesday, January 31st. You can get more information on the website at globalleadership.org, and you can also check out more information about that in our show notes. Lastly, if you get value from this conversation, please take some time to subscribe and rate. It helps other leaders find our podcast. And now, here is Johnny C. Taylor Jr. Johnny, welcome to the Global Leadership Podcast. We are thrilled to have Johnny C. Taylor Jr., President and CEO of SHRM, with us. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I got to tell you, if that's a tall order, you've got to make me look good. That's the deal, okay?
I promise. I'll do my best. Well, one of the things we love to do at the Global Leadership Summit podcast is to get a little bit of the lifestyle behind the leader, to learn some of the stories of your leadership. And you have had quite an impressive leadership journey. I'm looking at some of your history here. You've been president of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, a senior vice president of human resources at IAC, a partner of McGuire Wood Law Firm, general counsel and corporate secretary of Compass Group, senior HR and legal executive roles at Viacom, Blockbuster, Paramount.
It just means a brother can't keep a job.
I'm like, boards of
I was a millennial before it was cool. Right?
Well, you have had just such an impressive journey. Can you share with us some of your early experience as a leader? Was there anyone who identified you and helped really encourage you in your leadership? Can you remember?
So listen, first of all, thank you again. Thank you. I'm going to tell you, this will be a little counterintuitive. Where did I learn? What was that moment, that epiphany where I said, I can be better. I need to be better. Because the reality is I was at Blockbuster. I spoke about it earlier. So back in the day. And there was a moment that I'll never forget. No, let me tell you, it actually happened when I was in a law firm. You get old and then you remember when it all happened. But I was at a law firm and I had a secretary working with me. And notice, at that point, I didn't think working with me. I thought she worked for me. And when I had a project, a brief due that evening, and it was we needed to get in for the courts, 7:00, I think, was the time by which it had to be postmarked or whatever. So she came to me and she said, I have to pick up my kid. This is around 4:45. Now, you all know how that went over, right? And she said, I just have to. And I got to tell you, while I didn't berate her, I'm not one to raise my voice and yell. I said, listen, your kid is your problem, not mine. And I said it. I meant it. And when I saw this woman just break down in the front of me, that was my first leadership lesson. I'll never forget that. That I destroyed someone with words. I didn't fight them. I didn't raise my voice. But as a leader, I didn't take into consideration that it was a gift to be a leader. And in that leadership role, I had a responsibility, to whom much is given, much is expected. Like I had to figure this out. How difficult would it have been for me to say, maybe I'll let you leave and come back. Maybe we send someone to pick up your kid and bring them to the office and we buy them lunch. Like I just didn't think that way. I was very focused on me and my client, and I thought that's what life was all about. That's how you succeed. And it was a failure on my part. That was the leadership lesson that I learned the most. And I didn't have a partner come over and say, don't do that. In fact, the partners in the law firm encouraged that behavior. They were like, make more money, Johnny, win, win, win. And these secretaries, they're fungible. But that was when I think back, that was that moment when I said, I must be better, I can do better, and I will do it. And that really informed, and I think really led to me having the opportunities that I've received in my career, because I received that moment. I wasn't there, it didn't happen to me, I experienced it and said, I'm going to be better as a result of this.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a real turning point in your leadership and a real opportunity for empathy. Is that where you...
That's that word. That's where it all started. And here's the irony. The irony is neither of my parents are college graduates. My parents divorced. I have two siblings to their marriage. And it just never dawned on me that my mother's a nurse, and that some doctor probably treated her that way often. And that when she would come home in a bad mood, it was because someone had disrespected her and treated her that way at work. So I didn't think about the downstream effect, the wake effect of my behavior, even in that moment, knowing that that's the background from which I'd come.
Yeah. Do you have any other transformative experiences like that in your leadership? That sounds very significant.
So I'm going around telling the whole world. I worked with the Charles Koch Institute or Charles Koch Foundation, and then it ultimately became Stand Together, for which I'm a member. And we really said, we're going to do something about this. We are going to ensure that everyone who gets out has an opportunity to work, the dignity experience, the dignity of work. And then I was tested. A gentleman applied for a job at SHRM. We're based in Washington, D.C. He'd gone, this is that moment when you're right. People say, now let's talk about what you say versus what you do. Convicted rapist. Served 9 years of I think it was an 18-year sentence. My chief of staff there is keeping me honest, right? And so he comes in and he applies for a job. Ooh, I have a 12-year-old daughter. I have a mama, I have two sisters. This idea that he should work here was totally foreign. I was having no parts of it. And think about it. I want you all to really think about that. When we say the formerly incarcerated should have a second chance, do you really mean that? Words matter. Commitments matter. Your word is your bond. So leadership moment. I then decide literally when he was telling me, I'm thinking, not working here. Like it's not happening. I had to hear and see myself. So I decided to do it. And then guess what? The female employees nearly had a meltdown. How dare you put us at risk? This is male on male. This is this on this. He happened to be African American. You're just doing, they went in on me. And from a leadership standpoint, I had to, and this happened just 4 years ago, I had to stand by my word. This was a real test, right, of your fortitude. We had women quit because we hired this guy. And then, of course, they go to the horrible internet and use pseudonyms and talk about you real bad. And they just trashed me. But I was committed. This was my leadership. My most recent leadership moment was, if you say it, you believe it, you've got to live it. And this was the test. So the easy one is someone wrote a bad check and went to jail. That's an easy one. What do you do when the person shows up? They've been charged with murder. They've served their sentence, and you still don't want to give them a job. And the people around you don't want to give them a job.
I love that you stuck to your integrity and your word. And it's been many years you've worked with this organization and have a passion for this. So do you have any advice, wisdom, or strategies to help us do that better?
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of things I've been thinking about. Let me start to say this. We've been at this for 30 years, those of us who've been practicing in this area. And I don't think we've made much progress. Actually, I think in some ways we've done damage because of the way diversity was practiced. Remember, it started with, and I remember back in the day as a young lawyer, we're going to value our differences. I said, why are we focused on our differences? That's not the way human beings interact. I said it in my talk today. We have far more in common than we have different. And think about it. You go to a church service, you walk into a reception, you meet someone who you've never met before. You, ma'am. I don't come in and say, oh, we're different. Tell me how we're different. Who does that? That's not human. It's obvious we're different. What we do is to say, where are you from? Where do you go to church? Where'd you go to college? What'd you do? Because I'm trying to find what we have in common. That was the fundamental problem with our diversity efforts, is we focused on our differences, believing somehow that was going to make us better. No, it made us very, very much aware of how different we were. And so people tribalistically went into their corners. And that, to me, is at the root of most of our problems. We have given up on the ability to see the world through others' eyes and walking in their shoes. And that's a diversity problem, not a civil rights check-the-box affirmative action problem. It is generally a problem.
And you obviously have a great perspective in how you've even handled this within your organization. How did you get there? How did you?
It was hard. There's some ugly truths in all of us. And I think everyone sitting in this room should spend time looking at the man or the woman in the mirror. And it is really uncomfortable. I told you 30 years ago as a young lawyer, I had to look at the person I was and say, not cool. I am constantly challenged when I meet people who have diverse perspectives, who are of different backgrounds. We are all, I know you're gonna have a fit. My chief of staff's like, don't say that, don't say that. My comms people are like, don't say that. No, but you know, so I won't. But that's why they bring me with my own little personal clack. They're like, no, don't do that. No, seriously though, the best way to achieve this is to engage in your own introspective process. You literally got to sit down somewhere and say, who am I and who do I want to be? And you may decide that this part of me, because none of us are perfect, I'm okay with, or that I'm going to work on. But we all have to do that. And that's what I really do. I literally, once a month or so, go into an introspective process and say, how can I be better? Let me tell you, I'm a law and order guy. The fact that I have led this major initiative around hiring the formerly incarcerated is so counter to who I am. I can't tell you, I'm a lawyer. I worked for Janet Reno, okay? Anybody old enough to remember our first female general? Thank you. I go to these young rooms and I mention, they walked me on a stage one day and I said, here's Johnny, and the kids didn't get it. I was angry. I was so angry. Like, you lunatics, like, what's wrong with you? You don't know history. But seriously, and so that's what we all have got to do. If I could leave you with anything today, it is we change the world one person at a time. And the person you can change most is yourself. So it's easy to point at other people and say, this person can be better. But we all have biases that we have got to overcome. And as I said, hiring the formerly incarcerated was not in the cards 5 years ago. If you had asked me, Johnny Taylor would say, lock them up and throw away the key. If you had asked me, should people who have lost their right to vote as a result of going to prison to restore that right, I would have said no. Actions have consequences, and this is a consequence. But as I continue to grow as an individual every day, and hopefully you are not the same person you were 20 years, and God knows I hope you are going to be a different person 20 years from now if God gives you the opportunity to be around. You do that by engaging in some serious introspection. We go to gyms to work on our bodies. We go to physicians to make sure our physical health is all, but we don't really ask ourselves, am I the person I want to be? How can I improve myself? That's how I did it, and I would encourage you to all do it. But let me tell you, there are days when you're like, I don't even like me. Like, because we all have those realities.
Well, Johnny, it's clear that you've done that. And what a gift, because you have incredible influence over a large
Blessed.
group of people and are clearly making a difference. How, when you look back, because it's clear you've been very intentional about looking.
It wasn't that far back.
What, well, not look back, but when you think about what you would want to be remembered for, what would that be?
That's a really tough one. So this will be probably not what you're expecting. I want to be remembered for being a great dad. I really do. And that's hard. I mean, it really is. And not on a joking sense, we also know how hard it is. And I have a little girl, right? So I have a 32-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. Long story. No. But in particular, I'm so keenly aware of how important it is for me to bring up a little girl who knows her self-worth, who is aware of who she is and what she aspires, and that it's not defined by someone else, but it's defined by her, and it's refined by her over time. That is, I mean, nothing else will matter to me. Sure, I'm able to, you work and you need to make money to put her through the school she needs to go to and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, that's the thing. And it's the most difficult thing because we're all practicing at this. If I'm wrong, my daughter came in the other day. She attends Catholic school in Alexandria, Virginia. And she came in and they asked the darndest questions. They're really, really uncomfortable. And so she asked me, what did you think about Roe versus Wade? I was like, you're 12. Like, don't ask me that. I don't want to talk about that today. But I literally had to be thoughtful about what I said because words matter. If all of us in this room think about something that was said to you at 12, stayed with you, 32, 42, 52, 82. So being a dad is the most important thing I do. And it's the thing I'm going to continue getting better at because I'm not going to get it right and none of us will. But think about what you're doing. It's your greatest gift to this world.
Johnny, thank you so much. Your words matter. They have mattered to us today. Thank you so much, Johnny. Appreciate you having me here. I so enjoyed my conversation with Johnny. He truly was a delight. I don't know about you, but when I hear and get to talk to people like this, I always take a few minutes to reflect on what I learned from their conversation, and I hope you do the same. In thinking about this conversation I had with Johnny, I was really marked by his comments about cultural clarity. We're actually in a process of looking for some new members to add to our team. And it was just such a great reminder to how important it is for me to cast a vision for what the culture is of our team that's going to ensure us getting the right hire and the right fit. I was also really marked by Johnny's integrity and his willingness to stand up for his values and stay true to his word. It was really so inspiring to me and such a great reminder of the kind of leader I want to be. I'm so grateful for the new leaders that I get exposed to through the Global Leadership Summit. I hope you are too. You don't want to miss our next opportunity to learn from fantastic leaders like Johnny at the Summit Special Edition in February. So remember to register before January 31st to save an extra $20. And you can do that at globalleadership.org. Check out our show notes for some more information. And we hope to see you at the special edition in February. Thanks for listening to the Global Leadership Podcast. And until next time, lead where you are and keep getting better.